Global development definitely promises to bring new Western reproductive understandings and technologies to Papua New Guinea. Sandra Bamford compares Western reproductive technology and issues surrounding it to the study of this other culture's reproductive technology, Khmerian beliefs, knowledges, and practices in relation to reproduction. If we think about our own reproductive technology, it's in relationship, right, to industrialism and industrial economy and the complex forms of social relationship and organization that comes out of an industrial culture. So for Western societies like the United States, there are formal forms of social organization, modern institutions, for example, where people are related by impersonal roles and rules and so on, as well as informal social relationships among people, things like friendships and so on. Within this highly complex form of social organization, you have the family, and many sociologists, social scientists, like anthropologists have pointed out that, in fact, the nuclear family becomes an important form of social organization for industrial cultures. It's within the context, right, of such a society with families that they become characterized in material biological terms. And child paternity would be a very good example. So there is, in industrial cultures, there's an attention, right, to this child paternity. Think about the Khmer. I mean, they are a semi-subsistence horticultural culture. So they are, their culture and way of life is based on a very different form of economy and subsistence strategy. And thus the kind of social relationships and social organization that develop out of that are quite a bit different. You have what some scholars have called tribal social relationships. And so in this context, there's not really a family as such as we would describe for industrial culture. There are households, and then there's the tribal group as a whole. As we could see when we're looking at the specifics of the worldview of the Khmer, they have a number of different kinds of phenomena that they bring into relationship with households. So households aren't made up of just individuals, but they're also made up of land and other species like trees. And it is the behavior of individuals that brings them into relationship to that land, their modification of land, their management of land, their tending to trees and so on, that actually forms the particular kinds of household relationships. Likewise, you can see this for things like the relation between father and son. It's not a material biological relationship. It's not even one that we might call family, but it's a particular set of behavioral relationships, right, between these individuals. Likewise, Aaron extended this into the discussion of blood siblings. In blood siblings, there is probably the best parallel with our own notion of material biological relation between people, but it's of a horizontal one, right, among the siblings. For an industrial culture, a culture that's focused on material production, and production not just for needs, but for a huge range of desires, you find that kind of industrial culture and equipment and materiality applied to the relationships between people. You have the identification, right, of genes and the identification of things like paternity, DNA and genes and so on, and then the relationship of one body and another in reference to things like DNA and genes, and then human social relationships. We can really make a difference and a distinction between these two. On the one hand, you have that materiality of the body, and on the other hand, you have human social relationships such as father and son, mother and daughter, and so on. And in Western reproductive technology, One could say that Western science sort of makes a mistake. It conflates them. When we're thinking about issues of paternity, when notions of DNA and genes are brought to bear upon the father-son relationship, Western science has conflated the distinctiveness of the materiality of human beings and the nature of their shared and learned social relationships. When you have a paternity test, there's a conflation of those within Western scientific knowledge. What the Khmer seem to get, and in some ways you could say they get it much better than Western scientists, is that human social relationships involve lots of things that are not simply material or genetic. There's things like nurturance, education, shared labor. We can continue.